So, Suno AI made $2.45 billion last quarter. On the opposite side of that is Warner Music Group, and they made $1.73 billion. I'm Maverick. This is the Looming Horizon. Let's get into it. Let me tell you what those numbers actually mean. Every music exec I know saw that headline and immediately started explaining it away. Different business models, can't compare generation platforms to labels, temporary, anomaly. They're wrong. They know they're wrong and they're lying to their teeth. What just happened is Warner got out earned by a company that doesn't own a single piece of music. No catalog, no intellectual property, no Beatles, no Zeppelin, just tools. And the reason everyone's trying to explain it away is because if they actually sit with it and what it means, they have to confront something uncomfortable. The entire value chain just inverted. Warner's business is built on scarcity. They own rare assets. You can't get Stairway to Heaven anywhere else. That scarcity creates pricing power. Suno's business is built on abundance. Anyone can make anything. There's no scarcity at all. And abundance just out-earned scarcity, which is... oh, this is going to be fun. You know what that tells me? The market doesn't value the rare anymore. It values the possible. We're not just seeing that in music, by the way. And if you're sitting on a catalog worth billions, that should terrify you, because your entire valuation is predicated on scarcity meaning and scarcity mattering, and the market just said it doesn't. Now let's talk about what Apple and Spotify are actually doing, because the surface read is wrong. Everyone thinks this is a philosophical difference, human versus AI, curation versus volume. That's not what's happening. Spotify saw something that nobody else did. Completeness is the new moat. I know. You probably hate that word by now, and I get it. I respect that. What it means is they have the data, okay? They have the scale. They know what people want across billions of listening sessions. So they're using that to build the most comprehensive music library in the Western Hemisphere. Every mood, every microgenre, every edge case. AI content helps them get there faster. It fills coverage gaps that would take years for human creators to address. That's not about volume for volume's sake. That's about being so complete that when someone wants music for any situation, Spotify has it and nobody else does. But Apple's doing something different. They're building a premium tier around human verified music. If you're paying for Apple Music, you're opting into their filter. You are effectively saying, show me what's worth my time. That's a different value proposition, and for a segment of listeners, that matters. Here's what most people miss. Both of these strategies are right. How nice would it be if they just had a standalone DSP that did both? Crazy world, isn't it? They're serving different audiences with different needs. Spotify's serving the listener who wants infinite optionality and personalized discovery, whereas Apple's serving the listener who wants trusted curation. The question isn't which one wins. The question is, what happens when those audiences split completely? Because right now, both platforms are priced for a middle-class listener who wants some curation and some variety. Okay? But what if the middle disappears? What if it's just two extremes? Hello? Sun and moon? That's a fantastic thought. People want everything for cheap, and people who want premium experiences that cost way more than $10.99, $11.99, $12.99. That's the bet both platforms are actually making, even if they won't say it out loud. And this is largely because discovery has changed, and nobody told the artists. Conversational search is live. You can describe a feeling, and the AI will build you a playlist. Everyone's talking about how cool that is for listeners, but nobody's really talking about what that means for artists. Here's what that means. You can't game the system. You can't gamify your SEO. You can't gamify your AEO. Playlist SEO was gammable at a point. You study the patterns, you reverse engineer the titles, you sound like what's already working, you can fake your way in. The emotional metadata, you can't fake that. Either your music genuinely evokes a special feeling or it doesn't. There are quite a few artists that are mega stars that, in my opinion, I wouldn't turn on if they were the only artist in the world. The entire middle tier of competent but unremarkable artists just became invisible, and thank goodness for that. Not because anyone decided they weren't good enough, because the discovery mechanism can't find them. They don't have an emotional signal, emotional signature, emotional sound, a connection with a broader audience that is strong enough for an AI to map. And most of them have no idea that this has already happened. One of the more interesting ones is K-pop. And this actually is something that I have found to be incredibly interesting over the last few weeks that I've been reading about this, in that K-pop fans are generating more AI music than anyone else by a massive margin. The labels are suing, and they're making the same mistake the record labels made with Napster. They're trying to protect an old model instead of building a new one. Here's what's actually happening. Fans are telling you what they want. Songs that don't fit the brand, sounds the official channels would never approve. They're showing you exactly where the demand is. And instead of capturing that information and using it, the labels are trying to shut it, and by way of it, you, down. A label is effectively saying, we don't care what the audience wants. If it hurts our bottom line, we really don't care. Some fantastic business, don't you think? So you know what the smart play here is? You license the fan models. You let them create. Yeah? Okay? When something works, you participate in the upside. When it doesn't, it costs you nothing. But that requires admitting that the audience who pays for the concerts, who pays for the merchandise from their favorite artists, who have been so enamored and taken with different music throughout their career that it's brought them to some of the highest highs and the lowest lows of their life. That's where it starts to become you truly listening to the audience instead of putting it in front of an A&R and having someone siloed to some section of West Hollywood telling me, living in San Antonio, Texas, what I want to hear. I don't know that I've ever met somebody based out of West Hollywood that was going to talk to me about George Strait, but that's beside the point. And legacy institutions cannot do this. It's not that they won't do this, it's that they cannot do this. Their entire identity is built on being the expert, being the tastemaker, being the one who decides what gets released. Sounds a bit egotistical, don't you think? Letting the audience co-create the IP, that's an existential threat to their identity. So they'll fight it, and they'll lose. Because the fans are creating regardless. The only question is whether the labels capture any of that value or watch it happen outside their ecosystem. Here's what's actually happening. The tools are worth more than the vaults. That's not coming back. The platforms are both trapped in positions that they can't get out of. Discovery is now emotional, which means mediocre is invisible. And the audience is building what they want. That's some pipe dream, isn't it? We, as the audience, get to choose what we want to listen to? It's like a perfect world. It's like having your cake and dinner. It's kind of nice. Whether anyone wants to give them that permission or not, who gives a shit? The people who get to have this window, maybe that's 2 years, maybe it's less. The people who don't, they're going to spend the next 5 years confused about why the old playbook stopped working. It's going to be quite quite a magnificent next 36 to 60 months, and I am so excited to track it with you guys. Anyway, this is on the shorter side today, but really just felt like sharing. I'm Maverick. This is the Looming Horizon. I can't wait to do it again. Peace.